Welcome back to 1010's podcast. I'm your host, Robbie, and across from me is my co-host, Dusty Nixon, all the way from Texas. Woo. I don't know why I said it that way. I was just really...
We got to get the energy.
Yeah.
Energy level's got to be up.
Up. It's all
rise.
We're excited about Texas. We're excited about podcasting. We're just excited about life.
You're excited about Michigan this week.
I'm excited about Michigan. I'm excited about Ohio. That's about it. That's about all I'm excited about. Like that's a lot of excitement. We can be level now. We're chill.
We can. we started off on a high note on the energy level. Now we can bring it back to normal.
Yep. Back to the monotone podcasting voice that actually I really don't do too bad.
If we're going to get picked up by the NPR automotive division, we're going to have to really tone it down.
Is there even an NPR moving forward, or is that just gone? I think that's gone.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's probably gone. Yeah, I mean, just us tonight, looks like. Adam is busy with other shit, so he's not coming on. And other than that, we had a pretty busy week, so we're just trying to get a podcast in before the big holiday weekend. I don't have any plans. I think Jess was trying to get us to go to the Ozarks last minute, and I really didn't want to. So I'm hoping it's a 3-day weekend at home.
Well, this isn't the weekend that the Mid-Iv event was there, so there's not really any reason to go down there, right?
That's how I felt about it. We can go down in July.
I hear it's much nicer in July anyway.
Yeah. Well, she just started a new job today, so I think the idea of let's just turn around and leave after starting a new job doesn't really work. So that worked out. Did I lose you?
Nurses, they give them time.
Oh.
They're nurses. They get tons of time off, right?
Yeah, but you can't do it in the first week. It's frowned upon.
There are rules.
Yeah. No, she's pretty pumped about it. It's a surgical center, so it's pretty cush job is how she'd describe it.
A little less chaotic than the emergency.
Yeah, she was not a big fan of the level 1 trauma center in downtown Columbus. It just many reasons why it didn't work. But I mean, she likes the chaos of the emergency room, but doing it the way that place was managed was enough to drive you in. Did you hear that? Great. Thanks for Windows security. Everyone heard that. Rude. Got enough things recording. You'd think one pop-up would be like, okay, we're quiet this time.
It says, I sense that you're doing something with audio. Let me give you some audio.
Well, you would think Teams and stuff, that shit pops up and it's like if you're presenting or recording or doing something, it'll say, don't disturb, and your computer reacts accordingly. You would think that something like that would happen here. Like that's recording, OBS is recording, I don't know, whatever. Sorry, headphone listeners, for that binging noise.
I've been fighting with Windows computers at work all week, so don't get me started on Microsoft.
Well, if you just go to Apple, it'll solve all your problems.
I am speaking to you from an Apple device, and I'm quite happy with it. So,
are you really an Apple guy?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't actually. I think I did know that.
I'm a graphic designer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that tracks really well, actually.
I spent several years using a Windows computer at work and an Apple and a Mac laptop at home. And then I spent 7.5 years using Mac stuff full time, and it was glorious. And then I'm back to that world again where our computers at the shop are all Windows, using a system from Epicor for point of sale and cataloging and everything. And there's just like 7 levels to the things that can go wrong with that. So
yeah, that I believe that. That doesn't surprise me.
And the cool thing about a small business is whenever I send an email to help desk, it comes to me.
That was my next question is do you even have an IT department, or is that just you?
So we get, we have support from Epicor. So and they're pretty responsive. So if it's anything with their stuff, they're pretty good about it.
Sure.
But, network things and stuff inside the,
Oh no. No.
Bad company or one thing or another. So
Repeat that, please. The internet decided you didn't need to talk to me.
So if it's anything inside the building, we get to, just call the internet company or figure it out ourselves. So.
Lucky you. Yeah, I remember Collins, we had all of our IT was basically outsourced, and there was one guy on site, and after I left, it sounded like they laid him off. So I can't imagine having a company that big and not having IT on site. Insane to me.
Ooh. Yeah, we had like 3 or 4 people, and it tracks us at any given time.
Sure.
At least them knew something about a Mac at any given point, except for there was a little while there that they didn't, and so it was, you just kind of cross your fingers whenever you send a help desk ticket. Like, huh?
Yeah.
Walk downstairs and look at them. You walk downstairs with the silver laptop in your hand, and they all just go, "Oh no,
damn it!" Yeah, I would assume it's very similar, but yeah, basically different languages at that point.
Yeah. Better language. Yeah.
Different language. Yeah, more complicated. Yeah.
So it's like the biggest thing that I can't understand. I got my first Mac laptop in 2012 or 2013.
Yep.
That was 12 years ago now. I'm on my second Mac laptop, and I just got it like 2 years ago. Like I used that first one for a solid 10 years, and it was still fine. Yeah. It did every upgrade that came out. It ran smooth. It slowed down at the very end just because like there was so much more going on in the operating system that it's a 5 generation old processor at that point. So whatever. In the same amount of time, I've had 2 Windows laptops, and I don't ever use them.
Yeah,
I've had 2 Windows laptops since 2018, and the Dell one that I got in 2018 was essentially non-functional after like 4 years. The battery didn't last any time at all, and so loaded down. Yeah, it's so loaded down with Windows crap that would barely even start up and run.
Yep, I think I think you got 3 more years out of your Dell battery than I did.
Yeah. And it
was terrible.
And it doesn't have anything. It has iRacing and like Holly EFI software. Like that's the only things that I use it for. And like Windows errors and just.
Yep. I get it. See, like it's kind of like my phone. Like I'll have my phone until it's not usable. So it's usually about a decade, and I get a new phone. Now Jess gives me shit because like I always have I refuse to use a phone cover, and I was like, well, this phone's like already a decade old, Jess. If it breaks, I'm probably due for a new one.
You're probably due to find an 8-year-old phone.
That being said, this is a Galaxy S21, and I did not buy it brand new. I bought it like 1 year old off of that. What's that website? The used phone website. I don't know. It's been great. So I mean, whatever.
You act like phones are $1,000 or something.
They are $1,000.
Yeah,
it's one of those things too. It's like, I don't want to spend money on this because I used to get it for free. Yeah.
Mine is iPhone's up to 16 now. This is a 12.
See? Yeah, we're similar boats.
But I have a practical reason for that because it's a 12 mini and you can't get a mini anymore. They made that for like 2 phones, and then they decided that everyone just needs a giant phone in their pocket.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. This was pretty normal size, I think. That's 21. I don't know if they really made them any bigger than that. I honestly have not looked. I genuinely don't care. As long as my apps still work and it makes phone calls. Because I remember the last one I had, like it wouldn't update like all the apps like Facebook and stuff. So I'd get to a point where like stuff would just not work. And it's like, well, shit. So it was completely worthless. But it was
That's
also
how they get you.
Yeah, it was also kind of nice though, because like it was a phone at that point. It did text messages and phone calls. So
yeah, you don't really need the Facebook app. It's just
yeah, it's just distracting. But yeah, I think we can open this up right now and talk about my weekend. So
you did race car things.
I did race car things, and I brought it home as a race car.
Wow!
I didn't even use the winch. Spoiler.
Did you drove it in the trailer?
I did. Granted, I did it very quietly because I did it during quiet hours on Sunday, but I drove it onto the trailer. And yes, I said quiet hours because you have to shut down Gingerman for hours on Sundays.
Is there a way to do quiet VQ things?
Well, when there's two other VQs there and mine's the quiet one, it helps. Yeah, Sam Bosnian was there with his, and his is especially loud. And then I'm blanking on the other guy's name. He had one, but yeah, Sam's is quite loud.
That's to be louder than yours. That's something.
I'll say mine's not quiet by any stretch, but it's not loud, especially for a VQ.
Yeah, because it does actually have a muffler on it.
And a resonator.
Oh, okay, yeah. I forgot you had the resonator on it, too.
Yeah, that helps a lot. And it makes it have like an actual tone to it rather than just a raspy, screaming ear bleeder.
Yeah, I think the two biggest things that make a difference on them is a resonator and then whether it has cats or not. Because like mine with a resonator and cats is dead quiet. Like you can barely hear it outside.
Yep.
It's almost it kind of offends me that it's so quiet after I did the obnoxious ass exhaust on it that I put on it. But
yeah, the Z1M spec or whatever it's called is obnoxiously loud, and then I cut out like a foot of it and then put a vibrant ultra silent resonator, the big one. And that made a huge difference. Yeah, I don't have cats, so I think if I had cats, it would have been no problem at all.
Yeah, I think one of the loudest cars I've ever ridden in was a 350 that had long tubes and like solid motor mounts. And
I can relate.
I think he had a muffler on it, but it was not doing much at all.
No, the muffler doesn't, like if it's straight pipe, like if it goes headers, Y pipe, straight pipe, muffler, it does nothing.
Yeah, especially when you're in the passenger seat.
Yep, absolutely nothing. Yeah, so went to Grid Life's Rev Up. Really went into it with like no expectations. And so we got there. Well, I noticed on like earlier in the week that there was a bunch of like people posting like, "Hey, tickets still available. You should definitely come out." And it's like, that's really weird for a Grid Life. Like I understand it's an HPDE, but it was like that's odd.
Yeah, because Rev Up's been fairly big in previous years, right?
Up until the new format. So with the new format where they completely split everything, where the festivals are the festivals and there's no HPDE, and then like you got these standalone HPDE events, they're quite different. Last year was pretty quiet, still had a pretty full field, paddock, I guess is probably a better way to put it. But this year, I think because they put it out so late, a lot of people had other events going on, people had plans. You got Midwest Fest coming up here real soon. And then you just had Atlanta the weekend before for Grid Life. So I think, it was, and Taco Track Day was the week before that as well. So it was just kind of like, it was the way it fell into the calendar, the way it showed up late. I think it just, people were just like, yeah, it's too busy. Because we showed up Friday. It was just a 2-day event, Saturday, Sunday. So we showed up Friday at like 5 o'clock, I think, right around 5, maybe 6 at the latest. And we pull in, and I see Scott Robertson. That's it. We were the first ones there.
Well, that's a great welcoming committee, at least.
That is. Yep. So we just pull in, we find a spot, we take our normal spot kind of by the tower like we always do, and I'm just kind of waiting for people to trickle in. And it was like, we knew it was going to be a pretty low attended event, just again because it was kind of announced late and just a bunch of other stuff going on. It looks like, which worked out worked out fine for me. I basically just wanted to build my confidence back. Like surviving the weekend was the goal, not necessarily like I didn't have a lap time in mind. I didn't have some lofty goal or some, I don't know, nothing to go home and brag about. I just wanted to be like, I did a full weekend and I have a car to show for it. That's where I was at. That's how beaten down I had put myself in at this point. So, and we'll kind of talk about like that later, but so it was actually, I was pleasantly, I guess, surprised at how, like for me personally, pleasantly surprised. I know from a grid life standpoint, I'm sure they wish they had at least double the field, but
yeah, sometimes a nice, quiet, chill, not many people at the track weekend, it's not a bad thing.
No, I assumed my first event, once the car was back together, was going to be like a Thursday night Mid-Ohio test and tune. Just again, no pressure, quiet, just give me a few sessions to just see if this car even works anymore, or if the person driving the car is capable of making it work anymore.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, there's multiple areas where a car can have a question mark, and one of them is between the seat and the steering wheel.
Yep, and that was honestly the biggest question mark. Friday showed up. Jason Kanakari was there. I'd message him super late as well, just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. What are you doing that weekend? And so he came out and he was testing his car too, because I know he did some decent changes, and he's got some pretty good pace in that car now. So it'll be cool to see what races he ends up jumping into, because I think he could be decently competitive this year if he wants to.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, because he changed the combo on that a decent amount, right?
Like in general, he didn't change a whole lot on the car, but he did go to that forward 8-inch rear. I don't know the specifics. He put a forward 8-inch rear end in it, or whatever they do, and then changed the gearing. And I think that changed the way the car behaves a lot.
Oh, so you won't have a 200 mile per hour GLTC car anymore.
Yep. So I think the way he puts down power and the way that diff works with the car seems to make a dramatic difference. So he had pace right away.
Yeah. That's cool. Is he running a wing on it?
Yep. Yeah, he's got
okay.
Probably the same size as mine, not tall Johnny, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it wouldn't be grid life without a wind and a bit of a storm rolling through. So Friday night, we get settled in, and all of a sudden the clouds just get like super dark to the south and west. Yeah, and west. And so it's like you hear thunder, like, son of a bitch. I thought it was supposed to be like chilly, but like a nice weekend. So I go put the windows in the car, and like I saw on somebody's message, like I think it was on Facebook, or maybe it was like message in like a group chat. Someone had a picture of like there's a dirt storm in Chicago right now, and it was like, that's weird, but clearly it was coming our way.
Yeah, and NHRA was running in Chicago and had to call off qualifying on like Saturday, I guess.
Weird,
because of the dust storm.
Yeah,
and it looks straight up like a dust storm in Arizona, except it's rolling across Chicago, which there's a little bit of an alarmist in me that says, what's happening here?
No, I was kind of the same way. It's like, that's super not normal. Yeah, so we got the windows in the car, and just like luckily, Jason's got that massive RV, so we just crashed in there, which was the plan all along, anyways. But it was nice. We didn't really have to think about it, but it was we wake up in the morning and it's just like our cars are dirt bag filthy because it just rained mud.
Oh yeah, that's what we've been getting here because it's rained at least one day a week for the last month and a half, and yeah, every time it does it is. Luckily, my old man gray truck doesn't show it because it hasn't been washed, and it still looks as good or not good as it ever really has.
Well, my perfectly cleaned black truck is now dirtbag filthy, and then the Z was spit shined, and then it did that, and I was like, fuck it, who cares? It's an HPD. And then there was actually photographers there. I was like, damn it. So I had to give it another spit shine Saturday morning. But yeah, I think there was a grand total of like 25 drivers. So they combined all the sessions. So it was a beginner and intermediate was one session. Advanced was its own session. And then the champion class or group, which is basically your people with wheel-to-wheel experience or like extensive time attack experience, which it was one of those things like when I was signing up to, I was like, I clearly fall into the champion category, but it just seems freaking weird.
Yes. When you're checking in, yes, I'm a champion.
Well, that's how they said it over the PA the whole weekend too. It was like champions, and it's just like,
all you big time champions, time to head out on the track.
Yeah, there was definitely that tone every time they said
bring your trophy for admittance to the pit lane.
Yep. But yeah, like, it was one of those things.
You get your little like bowling trophy.
Yep. No, seriously, I know what I'm doing, guys. But yeah, it was funny. Like as I'm signing up, I was like, yeah, I obviously have the experience. It makes obviously that's the thing I want to be. But like at the time, when I bought my ticket, I had no idea who was showing up, and I'm like, I don't really feel like being in the champion class. Come to find out that Ferris is there testing his Corvette, or like they got these all the unlimited time attack cars testing for Midwest Festival are there, and they all went to champion class, and I'm like one of two GLTC cars that are like in everybody's way. Obviously that wasn't the case, but that was like my thought when I was buying tickets. I'm like, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be the guy in the way. But
hey, unlimited time attack cars don't test. Come on now.
That proved true. Yeah, that really surprised me. Not that unlimited time attack cars weren't testing, but that nobody was testing. Fucking nobody. Like almost every single person there that I talked to, except for the rush cars, those guys were testing for Midwest Festival. There's 3 of them there, and yeah, legit, very serious testing. But every other door slammer car that was there was kind of like me, just getting some time in. A lot of us aren't going to Midwest Festival. So I just thought it was super strange. I thought that the paddock was going to be full of people getting all their last minute tests in for Midwest Festival and get their setups all done and all that stuff. No, very strange. Honestly, very strange.
Which how far out are we from festival? Like 3 more weeks?
Yeah, it's like June 6th and 7th. Yeah, it's like 2 weeks. Yeah. So yeah, it was. That's why I figured it'd be fairly full, because that's what it was like a couple of years ago too. Is everyone treated it like practice and the test and tune and all that stuff, kind of like what it's designed to be. So, but yeah, so they combined all the sessions, so it was only 3 groups now, and each group only maxed out at 7 cars. So it was never an issue. I think the biggest concern would be that you got rush cars intermingling with regular door slammers. So, obviously they had to have their lights on, and the drivers that were there. I mean, they were fully aware of the fact that they're going to sneak up behind you and you not realize that tiny car is right there. So,
yeah.
the I can't think of his name right now. Anyways, shoot, it's gonna bother me. I know him, but anyways, one of the there was two in advanced and then one rush car in champion, and so he did really good about being the first to grid, making sure that he was seen. Like if we got out late and he caught up to us or whatever, it was just like, being very aware that he's in the small car. That's, if something bad happens, like if I don't see him, I'm not going to be the one that's going to be hurt. Yeah. It's going to suck for me, but it's not going to hurt me.
Yeah. There's a technique that you drive a tiny car that is only 28 inches tall on track. Yeah. So it's kind of like driving a lower 350Z down the highway in Texas. You're intentional about where you are and mindful of mirrors and stuff like that. So
yeah. I mean, like, because champion class, you didn't have to do point buys or anything like that, but of course, we all did. I mean, it's an HPD. We're not there to show off or do anything. Like, we're not there to prove anything. We're all just there for testing or whatever reason. So it was, like literally no incidents the whole day. Like there was no literally no problem between drivers or like anything like that, where it was just like if people caught up to people, they went around and it was totally cool. But yeah, we ended up doing 8 sessions per day. So it was like, so the champion class, it was every hour at the 20-minute mark the whole day.
Wow.
Yep.
Drive until you're tired.
Yep. And I legit
go back out again.
Exactly. And I legit and they weren't like super long sessions. I personally would have preferred to do like maybe two less sessions and then do every session a little bit longer. But again, apples, oranges, it don't matter. It's all the same. But yeah, in that situation, it was just, every hour you're out at basically the same time. And so went out the first session, real timid. You could tell, I personally could tell that I had not been behind the wheel much in the last year. A couple seconds off pace at the very best of the lap times I was doing at the time of my personal best there. So I think I did 2 sessions like that where it was just kind of like, okay, my brakes are going to work going into 10. Okay, the ABS light isn't coming on. Okay, the check engine light isn't coming on. Okay, I have pedal. It was just one of those like all that stuff I fought last year with the ABS that seems to have been fixed. That axle there, that output shaft seems to be fixed. The pressure sensors are fixed. The master cylinder's fixed. The upgraded wheel hubs are working the way they're supposed to. No pad knockback. Just all the stuff it was supposed to do last year, it is doing. So it was nice to get out and get a couple sessions in, kind of build that confidence back, get a little comfortable in the car again, and then just kind of, again, I'm not trying to set the lap record during HPDE or even be capable of it, but I definitely didn't really push it until about halfway through the day, and even then, we're talking like 0.8 really. I definitely wasn't sending it like I would if I was as comfortable as I was maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah, but I mean, somebody's going to take home that HPDE trophy at the end of the day.
I can go to one of the rush cars, I guess. They were fast. So like legitimately, I first 2 sessions are pretty uneventful. Just just slow. Honestly, that's all I was just car felt pretty good. Just no confidence. I think it was session 3, maybe 4. What went wrong? It was okay. So I had a list of things that all went wrong, and they're all minor, but it was just kind of like one of the sessions. Like I was coming out of 10, and all of a sudden I get like a puff of smoke, and like I'm convinced I just hurt the engine because it just felt weird, right? And then like it's continuing to smoke, but not a lot. And it just, I can see it in my rearview mirror, and I can kind of feel like coming into the cabin, but it doesn't smell like burning oil. And all my gauges say we're good, and I'm not dropping fluid. I was like, so I get, by the time I get to like assess the situation, I'm already past turn 11 going down the front straight. It's like, well, I gotta like, all right, well, I don't think I'm causing a problem, but something's not right. So I'm going to limp this back in. And yeah, so like what had happened was last winter or last fall sometime, I don't know if it was during one of the accidents or maybe it was just wear and tear, but there was like a pinhole in my high pressure line for my power steering pump. And it was, it was dropping fluid. And, Nissan's got that weird like foam that goes around the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes it impossible to tell if the hose is leaking.
Exactly. Yeah. So I could never figure out where it was coming from. And it was like, it was always just like this tiny little puddle. I was like, all right, well, it seems fine. And then, during my move to Ohio, that pinhole decided it was a proper leak at this point. So I'm like, when I drove it off or out of the garage, out of the shop into the trailer to move to Ohio, it was leaking. And then when I tried to drive it off the trailer into the new shop, it like emptied just sprayed everywhere and just made a gigantic mess. And like by the time I got the car parked, it was like had emptied the reservoir. And then then I just cut all of that foam off, and like sure enough, it's just this tiny pinhole, but it's enough to like it's a real problem. But anyway, so yeah, Short story long, I replaced that line last winter, and the like aluminum threads. I'm always terrified that I'm going to over torque them, so I must not have tightened it just enough. So like that where the high pressure line meets the rack. It had it would loosen just enough that it wasn't seated anymore. So it was leaking fluid out of that fitting and just like dripping. And some of it was getting on the exhaust as it was, going back under the car. So that's what was causing the smoke. And like, I still had half a reservoir full of fluid. So I mean, it wasn't like I was dumping a bunch of fluid, but it was enough to be like smoking into the cabin, smoking out the back of the car. Because burning ATF has a weird smell.
Yeah. Well, and but as we famously said on the show before, cars don't just randomly burst into flames.
Yeah, Jess, cars just don't burst into flames. But it was kind of funny because I'm coming around 3 and they're like black flag. I'm like, I know. But if you think I'm on fire, I need to go over there. You're like, you need to be waving me over.
Yeah.
But I was convinced it wasn't a fire. Jason behind me, because like at this point, I think it was 3 or 4 sessions in, and Jason's already bored, so he's trying to play cat and mouse with me, and I was like, bro, I'm not ready. So he just like he'd keep showing up in my mirrors because he's got at least 2 seconds of pace on me at this point. He's just regular pace. Me, if I'm trying, still 2 seconds behind him at this point, and so he's like just trying to cat and mouse. Bother me the whole time, and then at this point, and then it starts to spray fluid just enough, so he's convinced that like my brakes are on fire, so he's trying to like get my attention, and it's like, oh, yeah, I know something's wrong. But yeah, luckily that's all it was. Like it wasn't like broken, it wasn't out, it was just like half a turn loose and just enough to get that metal to metal seal unseated. I'll go back and double check it now that it survived the rest of the weekend. But yeah, it was just one of those things. Like I was convinced if I kept tightening it when I installed it, that I was just going to end up going ready, tighty, loosey, and then just have to replace the rack. That was my worry.
Yeah, there's a fine. So any of that kind of stuff. Whenever I put it together, I like snug it like.
Yep.
And then start it up and let it pressurize, and then like give it a little bit, and it'll like drip. So I go over and go sink, just a little bit more, especially brakes. Like and then I did that on my oil cooler too, because we did all Russell stuff with like the black braided line and the black aluminum fittings, and all that stuff like on the cooler and everything. I was like, I think that's good.
Yep. And that
A little bit more. Okay, there we go. That's good.
Yep. And I mean, that's the thing on metal to metal seals. Like, more isn't always better. Like there's a reason there's a torque spec, and it's surprisingly low.
Yeah.
So it's like if your AN fitting's leaking and it's real tight, tightening it more isn't going to fix it. It's going to make it worse. Yeah. But yeah, so like
you should.
But the rack had kind of like I don't know if it's a bubble flare, but yeah, it's like a brake line, so it's the same idea where it just needed to be tightened. So yes, so that got that fixed, went back out, all good. At this point in the day, I did make a note that, like, the car feels like the tires are square, real shaky. Like I'm going down the back and front straights. My steering wheel's kind of doing like, obviously this is for those listening at home. It's my hands are going up and down. It's going like this. I was like, okay, well, maybe I just got a bunch of OPR in my wheels or something. And like, granted, these tires have been in 2 accidents. So they've been sideways, sliding across the tarmac multiple times. They're probably not round. I was like, okay, so yeah, if they're getting worn out, they're probably a little more square than most wheels or tires.
Well, and the car sat a decent amount of time on them too, right?
And they've been through multiple freeze cycles because, like again, like I wasn't planning on doing anything serious with these tires, so it's like we're done here. I'll just use them for rolling around. I didn't care if they froze. So yeah, when they sat in the trailer when I moved, yeah, it was like negative whatever degrees for who knows how long. I mean, they properly froze this winter, so I wasn't surprised that they were acting weird. And I didn't see anything. Like I poked my head under there, nothing obvious. Hindsight, yeah, it probably would have been if I would have taken a little more time, but so it's just like one of those things that kind of kept a note to myself, like something's not quite right here. And it kept getting a little worse, but not to the point where I was like, I need to stop. And then, like, it was again somewhere after lunch, so it would have been like the 5th session after I got my power steering pump or line fixed. I go back out and it's like, this thing's loud.
This is no longer something that I can ignore and say that it's going to be okay.
This car's loud, and I was like, it's a VQ. I know it's loud, but like, it seems loud. So then I come in and like I'd blown a gasket out of one of the connections. So it's like, okay, 2 bolts out, 2 bolts in, done. No big deal. 5-minute fix, and it's back to being its normal loud, not its loud. And then again, 2 more sessions of the day. The tires are feeling square. And then the last session, I go out and it's like, okay, this feels like shit. Granted, I think I did my fastest lap of the whole weekend in like session 8. I was out there by myself for like 5 laps. Like no one went out for like they went out for a couple laps, then went in, and I had the whole session to myself. And I was like, okay, well, I did pretty good on that lap. Well, then I hit turn 11 pretty well. I was like, we'll just keep going because I'm seeing green on my Apex Pro. I was like, well, I'll go until I stop seeing green on my Apex Pro. And I did that for like 5 laps. And I was like, I'm probably almost out of gas. And this feels like shit. So I made a mental note to myself. I was like, we're going to put this car up on jack. Like, we're going to jack this car up when I get done. We're going to double check everything, figure out why this feels so like just, I don't know, out of balance.
I like the approach of this feels increasingly weird, but I'm still in the green, baby. So we're just going to keep hitting flyers.
So maybe I'm not as damaged as I thought I was, or maybe I'm more damaged than I realized.
So you don't. So you just use the Apex, right? You don't have a timer up.
No, I just got. I have like So I bought a. What's it called? Samsung made a like work phone. That's like it's like Galaxy based. So it's that same. I can't think what it's called. But basically, it's like a thick Samsung Galaxy, and it can handle.
It's designed to run at 274 degrees.
I think it can operate at 175. It was the highest rated cell phone I could find, and I bought one for like $60, basically brand new. So its only job is to run Apex Pro.
Yeah.
Because I had an iPhone, but like those things die at like 120.
Yeah, mine here lately with using Google Maps and playing a podcast on the drive home, if the sun shines on it at all, it dims the screen. It doesn't go into like full shutdown or anything, but it's like if I have to look at it for anything, I'm like, what is happening here? Oh, it's because the backlight's reduced down to like 30% because it's trying to like, it's in survival mode.
Yep. Yeah. The iPhone that I have still, the reason I replaced it with that, the Samsung was because it would, I think it was at Heartland Park. I couldn't, or no, it was Midwest Fest, whatever year it was that I had it last 2 years ago. And I couldn't even make it through grid before it would just like shut off. Like it would still record, but the phone would be worthless. Like it wouldn't be able to display anything. So I could get the data after the fact, after it had cooled down. So it was weird how it'd still record and save it, but it would be like it'd be too hot to touch. So
yeah. It's kind of an impressive piece of technology whenever you think about it, that it can get that hot and just be like, nope, don't care.
Yep. Yeah. So, but the Samsung, I got annoyed that I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, whatever that phone is, it doesn't care. It just the hottest day. But yeah, so came back to paddock, knew I needed gas, and I needed to just give it a once over, make sure, I put a lot of laps in, so make sure my pads are looking good, because I'm just using some of the free ones that were given to me from Stratus Racing, because they did a ton of testing, and they had like 12 stacks of pads that had like 2 sessions on them. They're like, hey, we're gonna throw these away, do you want them? And I'm like, well, what do they fit? And they're like, they're 74 or they're 4720s, whatever. They were my part number, and I was like, okay, I'll take all of those. Yeah, they're like brand new. I'll take all of them. So I was using one of their throwaway just for practice. So like they're not anywhere near as good as the G-Locks that I've been using, but they're consistent. They have a pretty decent bite, but yeah, they don't have quite the modulation and the aggressiveness that the R16s have. So yeah,
is it the Samsung X Cover Pro?
That's the one. That's the one. Thank you. That is the phone. Yeah. So I did. So it came in, and I was like, I had a very short list of things I wanted to go over once I had, gotten changed out of my racing suit, and cooled off a little bit. And then Scott was like, hey, we're gonna get ice cream. So then I didn't do any of that, and I just went and got ice cream. And then we were gonna go get cobbler, because I don't know if you remember last year getting cobbler.
Yeah, cobbler turned into a big thing.
Yep. So we went down. So it was, Jess and I left, and we left because we brought Gabby, the new dog, because we believe that she could handle being at the track and the other dogs can't. And that proved to be very, very true.
I noticed that in the pictures, the brand new dog got to go to the racetrack, but the other dogs had to stay at home.
Yeah, the other dogs can't handle it. Well, Kyle has zero interest. He's on like the wrong side of 12 and has no interest in leaving the house. Like he barely wants to go outside to go to the bathroom. Like he just like wants to be on the couch or hidden in the closet in his little cave. And then Yancey can't be trusted. So like he's the Pomeranian in him is too much. Like he's too bitey. But Gabby's super, like her biggest problem is she likes people too much. Like she just wants to be on your lap. So, like we're working on it. She's real obedient, but like she can't get out of her own way. Like if she meets someone new, she wants to like jump on them. So luckily basically everybody there was, dog people. So they worked with we introduced them, and they would be like, hey, yeah, she's going to try jumping you. Like, don't pet her until she sits and listens.
Yeah.
And everyone was really good about that. And like, everyone was real patient with the fact that like she was jumping on people, but not like it was like a rite of passage. Like she'd meet you, try to jump on you, and then she'd never do it again. It was like it was like that first introduction thing.
Like, can I jump on this one? Nope, not this one either.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
What about this one? There's a new one. Can I jump on this one? Huh? Can I jump on this one? Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Her worst thing is every time she'd see a big dog, she'd start like barking, and we couldn't decide if it was because she was so excited that she wanted to go meet the new dog, or if it was like a territory thing. Like we didn't know. She never does this with our dogs, but it was just a weird behavior. They're like, we're not going to test this. We're just going to pull them apart. So we left. So it was Jason, Alexis, Colton, and Kayla, and then Jess and I. We all left and to meet Scott and everybody for ice cream. And then so we really hadn't left Gabby alone. So we were like, is it cool if we just leave her in the RV? Yeah, whatever. So we leave her, and as we're leaving, she's sitting in the driver's seat, just like staring at us, like, you're really gonna fucking leave me here?
You're gonna leave me in this dump of a motorhome? You couldn't even turn the fireplace on for me. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't think it was on at that point. But yeah, she was exhausted. Like, she slept the whole time. It was fine. But yeah, it was just kind of funny watching her watch us leave. Like, really? You get cobbler? But yeah, so we go into town, and we, Saturday night in South Haven's kind of hit or miss. Like, sometimes it's like all that street's just full of people, and sometimes it's real quiet. And we get down there, and it's pretty normal, it seems. Some of the restaurants are almost like empty, and some of them look normal. And we were walking down to Taste because I wanted my cobbler. And we get there, and it's looks pretty full. And so we got 6 of us, right? And so we go, all right, well, this is after we ate ice cream, by the way. So we stopped and got ice cream at Sherman's, and then go get dinner because we did dessert first.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, so we left the track at like just before 6, and then we had ice cream, and then we went to tried to go to Taste we got there about 7, and so we walk in. It's like 6 of us, and we go. What kind of wait are you looking at? And they're like, well, that's about 90 minutes. I'm like, no, because it would have been 7:30. It would have been 7:30 because it would have been 9 by the time we got seated. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And I'd just eaten like a pint of ice cream. Like, I don't need food at all, let alone wait 90 minutes for it. And they close at 10, so it's just. So we walked down to the lighthouse on the beach, which is really nice. Like, South Haven's actually a really pretty, like, lakeside town. So, like, if you're looking for a place to go, granted the water's too cold to swim, but it's a really nice town. And we just kind of hung out there, and then walked our way back, and then just grabbed food at one of the restaurants that didn't have a 90-minute wait. And then got back around 9 whatever o'clock, and I forgot to get gas, forgot to put the car up and poke my head under, and just none of that shit happened.
As will happen when you go on an ice cream bender after you leave the racetrack.
Exactly.
See, Dalton, Robbie gets to go on benders too.
Yep. And, like, it was because we go there, and it's just like, they just have like the list of ice creams and sundaes and whatnot. And I was like, well, I'll get whatever sundae. And then it was literally like a pint of ice cream. And then Jess gets a waffle cone. And it's like a pint of ice cream. And so, yeah, we didn't need dinner. And yeah, I was very, very lactose full at that point. So yeah, wake up in the morning, get gas, because that was the one thing I remembered I needed to do. Granted, there was other things I needed to remember to do, but gas was the one thing I remembered. And so I get seated, get in the car for my 9 whatever o'clock session, pull out of my parking spot, and then drive. I make it like a foot, and I can feel, like, as the car's rolling, I can feel the steering wheel do like a 30-degree turn, every rotation of the tire. So it's just like, what? And so it literally felt like the whole car was just like hop, 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 hop. So like, I obviously didn't go to grid. So I get down to the end, turn right rather than left, go all the way back to the top of the paddock on the inside of grid, and I flagged Scott Robertson down. I was like, "Hey, something ain't right." And so I had him like stand in front of me as I roll, and you could see like his his expression was just kind of like, huh? Huh? Like just the confused dog look.
He does the puppy dog head tilt.
Yes, that's exactly what he did. And he can so my driver's side front tire, every rotation, it was like, he goes, it's like your wheel is way bent, but it's not, but it is. And so like you could just see the whole car just like a boat. Like it felt like I was riding on a boat in the lake. So then he sees it on the side. He's like, yeah, like it's not right. It's like half your tire sidewall is like recessed flush with your rim, and the other half is like protruded out like, the normal amount, whatever, quarter of an inch, right? You can there's an obvious difference side to side just looking at the face of it.
Like part of it has stretch and part of it is like flush. Yep.
So obviously, bring it back to paddock or my paddock spot and looking at it, I was like, yeah, you're like, you can see like where it's in like the tread is real shiny in that spot. And then the rest of it's normal. I was like, well, let's just get this wheel off. And so pop it off and it's just like, oh, so it has like a tumor for like an entire half of it on the inside lip. So obviously a bead or a belt broke somewhere along the way, and then the only thing keeping it from popping was just the rubber.
Okay.
I cannot believe, one, that I was putting my fastest lap times in a tire that looked like that, and two, that it didn't fucking pop.
Yeah, so it probably de-lammed like while you were on track and then blew up as it like cooled off, maybe. Yep. I don't know.
Because, that would have explained why I had this streaky steering wheel throughout the day. Because it would have progressively been getting worse. And then I assume as it sat overnight is when it like really ballooned. Because it certainly felt way worse Sunday morning than it, even just driving in the paddock. Like something was blatantly wrong.
Yeah, the mission during that session was probably the actual belt being broken and then just causing it to be like really unbalanced, and then it let air out into places that it didn't need to be after it like sat and chilled.
So like very happy that it didn't cause catastrophic failure or do anything, because like I don't remember like wheel dropping any turn, maybe turn 1, maybe turn 6 once or twice, but I don't think I did anything that would have like actually caused damage to the tires this weekend. So, but like you think back, it's like, yeah, like that, these were the tires I crashed at Midwest when I was crashing at Midwest Fest the year before, and the tires I had when I crashed at Road America. So like these have seen some shit. So like I'm not surprised to see that they're damaged and having problems, now. So it's probably time to just cut my losses, admit that these 660s are not for me. These 4 tires are cursed, and we can just move on.
We've all been there.
Yeah, it happens. They legitimately felt consistent throughout the day up until the out of balance feeling. But
yeah, sometimes you end up with a set of Falcon 660s that you've crashed on twice and thinking, maybe these aren't the tires for me.
That's just not for me. I'll use the excuse me again. I'll use the Nexans that I have for the rest of my testing, and then when I'm ready to buy a tire again, I wanted to try the Kumos, so I'll probably end up just getting those and using those next time I actually buy tires. So maybe later this year or next year. And who knows, maybe there'll be new rules, new tires, new events, whatever, and maybe that'll define what I do. But yeah, probably unless the 660 Plus is proved to be the be all end all of tires and they fixed all their problems and they're the bestest ever. But I don't know. I'm probably like in the minority here, but I'm not a big fan of these, so I'm probably not going to get them again.
I've driven them on the Camaro, and that's what we had on. That's what the Fit's got on it too. And both times on wildly polar opposite cars, they're sticky, but they don't communicate well. Yep. It feels like to me, like the line between like where the Yokohamas, which the Yokohama is a cheater tire in basically every form, but you can push it to the limit and past it, and it just feels very predictable the whole time. And the 660s, it has a very narrow window where it's at peak, and it's just easy to exceed it. It seems like, or something. I don't know. Of all the different tires that we ran on the Camaro, those made me scratch my head the most by far.
Yeah, I get that. Granted, I'm not blaming the tires for my crashes because it obviously was not the case, but it just
but I have the same feeling about mine because the tires were telling me that they weren't working and I wasn't listening and just beating my head against the wall trying to make them work. And
it happens.
Look where we ended up.
Yep. Yeah. So, that's not what I wanted. So like we're sitting there and like everyone that's in the area is just like, oh, how? So like everyone's coming over and looking at it, and then Scott Robertson's Scott's like, you got to do the pose, and we all knew exactly what he meant. So I like drop down to my knees and I do like the #blessed pose, and so take that stupid picture and have fun with it, and then immediately take the valve out, and then get all the air pressure out immediately.
Yeah, before this thing explodes.
Yep, because there was a couple of people that were like, no, I'm good from here. I can see it from here.
Yeah, you had you go to the doctor's office and then they start calling in all the different nurses like, come look at this thing.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, pretty wild. But it did then. So that was the end of track running. Yeah, I didn't throw my wet tires on, and at that point, we had one session in the morning, and then you do quiet hours from 10 to 12, and it's like, well, I don't want to run my wet tires or my wet weather tires in a perfectly dry day. Sit around till like I think it was 12:20. I think I got back on track, and I was like, then I got a 5-hour drive home. I was like, you know what? I already got 8 sessions in this weekend. I'm already money ahead as far as I'm concerned when it comes to number of things to fix. Basically nothing except little minor things that I want to improve and fix. And I'm like, start to optimize because like my setup was far from optimized. My tires obviously were far from optimized. Like just at this point, like I didn't even try to get it set up right. I was just like, I just need something, anything. I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to be not a fucking failure is where I was at.
You did the track version of Freiburger's "Don't Get It Right, Just Get It Running."
Yes, exactly. That's exactly where I was.
Just get it on track and give me a day where you don't kick me in the balls repeatedly, and everything will be okay.
Yep. So I did a podcast with Track Walking Saturday night, and kind of walked through like honestly my mental state leading up to this because we kind of talked through. We went from I think we talked about on this podcast a couple weeks ago where it was like I went from the NPO1, which was not the most easy thing to deal with. So we had like the amount of time spent fixing and fighting versus time spent driving, not great. And then followed by the year of engine management issues, followed by the year of crashing. So it's just like I had not a great timeline. And so like I was talking to Scott even before the podcast, and he's like, so how are things going? And like he picked up on the sense that like I was saying it's good. Still waiting for that bag over the head punch in the mouth though. I'm waiting for it. And he goes, yeah, you could tell that you were waiting for it to just like blow up in your face. Like you were like that PTSD trauma, just like, it's going well. I know it's not gonna.
You're the person that got mugged on the subway, having to go back out and walk down the sidewalk in New York.
Yep.
Like over and over again.
Yeah. And like I knew I had psyched myself out a little bit, like especially last year, like after July leading into the fall, where I was just like, do I even want to be doing this anymore? Like, is it even worth it? Like, am I even enjoying myself enough to justify fixing this? And even if I do fix it, do I want to get back out there? And like, so I went all fall, all winter with those thoughts, and like I didn't really realize how toxic I was to myself, and like how far I'd let myself get down that like, you suck at this, it's not worth it. You'll never get it right. What if I just walk away?
Yeah, what if we just sold everything and took up knitting?
Yeah, it was just one of those things. It was like, I understand I want to challenge myself, but like, why challenge yourself so much when you suck at it? You know, like that's like, I was so mean to myself over the course of the winter and after all this, and it was just like, you know, like letting things have like conversations like in the GLTC chat or like the Greater Grid Life chat where they're talking about like someone made a comment about like letting, you know, I guess the takeaway for me at the time, and again, it might have been my headspace mostly, but it was just like, it's not okay that I caused the yellow flags because I'm not a front runner. I don't deserve that honor to be a person that causes problems for others. And I let that fester, and it just bothered me. I was like, I'm a problem for others. And it's like, and I know that's not my reputation, but that's definitely how I saw myself. And then like those really toxic thoughts built up over the winter, and it was just like, I suck at this. No one wants me on track with them. Like, just like, again, really not true. Like, I'm not saying I'm a great driver, but like, I don't completely suck at this, and people don't avoid me at all costs. Like, I'm not an asshole on track. It was just one of those things. Like, I needed to get back out there, and just like, ideally would have had a track to myself just to build a little bit of confidence. And Jason actually, by trying to play cat and mouse with me and being like, no, I'm going to fucking annoy you. You're going to realize that you are totally comfortable with the car in your mirrors next to you. Like, you are totally fine in these situations. And I was. Like, he shows up in my mirror. I'm like, you're going to fucking earn this. Like, you're not passing me. And like, that was my immediate thought. Like, my first thought was, oh, I'm not giving you a point by. You're going to earn this. And so it was just like, it was like getting to that, to have that thought, and just like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not as broken as I thought I was.
Yeah, get a little bit of that competitive juice back too.
Yeah, because I mean, I was totally fine. I mean, granted, it wasn't like an aggressive dogfight, but it was like I was totally fine in those situations where like we're bumper to bumper, like obviously not like bump drafting or anything, but it was just like he's right there, and I'm not sitting there over worrying about, are my brakes working right? I mean, like, am I hitting my markers right? Like, I'm not overthinking it. I'm just doing it. Like, I'm totally fine in the moment. So like leading up to it is when I stress out about it. Like, and even after the fact, I'm stressing out about the situation in a situation I was totally comfortable in.
Yeah, Jason's confident in my brakes. Clearly, he's right there.
Yeah, he trusts me. Why don't I trust me? But yeah, so I mean, I've always kind of been that way. Like, in the race, in the moment, I'm pretty calm. Like, I can handle it. But like leading up to it, like if I'm sitting in the car driving to the track, thinking about all the scenarios that could happen, that's where I get nervous. Building up like all these crazy like situations, but of course, like never play out that way. And even when they do, it's like in the moment, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, I have the worst anxiety of any event weekend that I ever have. If it's at a new track or with a new group, my biggest anxiety always surrounds like the logistics of the weekend, not the act. Like, once you can get me in the car and on the track, if if I've been driving and like we know the car's in a good spot and we know that I'm feeling fairly good about it, I psych myself up about like, well, where are we going to park? What time's the driver's meeting? What's this? What's that? It's all of the things around it that like really drive me nuts.
Yep.
And it's that same thing. It's just that mental space of just having to pass the hours until you get to that point.
Yep. Yeah, and I think this weekend was really eye-opening on just kind of like how I had seen myself versus how others actually see me. So like, I guess it was just one of those things. Like, I didn't realize how much I had psyched myself out from something that I actually really enjoy doing. So, like, even just into the weekend, like, Scott's there, Seth's there, Chris, I'm not going to say the last name right, from Chicago, always at a lot of Grid Lives, but like, Sam Dueling, just a bunch of people that I know through Grid Life, even like some of the people that I don't know that well. How many people just came up to me and were just like, it's good to see you out there. It's nice to see you back on grid. And it was just like one of those things, like I didn't think about how much that was going to mean to me. Like I was driving home Sunday. Jess is passed out sleeping with her and the dog have had too much of a weekend. They are asleep. And I'm driving home for the first time in probably almost 2 years after an event that I'm just content. Thinking about just like how much it meant to me. Just something simple, just like, it's good to see you back out there. And it's just like how jaded I'd become, how toxic I had been to myself, and just how much I'd let invasive thoughts ruin something that I truly enjoy. Yeah. So it was just to hear that was really nice, and just kind of like that, just kind of like reset me. Just like, you know what, it's just something so simple meant so much to me.
Well, I know too, because we both changed jobs recently.
Yep.
I know when you're not happy with the thing that you do for 40 plus hours a week, and then something else outside of that like doesn't go the way you want to, it amplifies it greatly. So there's a lot of the mental side of things whenever you have something during the week that you feel fulfilled with, and you don't feel just beaten down and ignored by having like, I've been able to go into like working on the cars and doing that kind of stuff with a much different attitude than I had for the last couple of years. And I'm sure that is a factor for you as well. Like feeling a little bit freed from all of that. And then now let's take a new approach with the car again. And
oh yeah, like 110%. Because Jess has made comments since moving to Ohio that she's just like, you are noticeably different.
You're not an asshole anymore. What happened?
It's not quite that bad, but it was just kind of like, you're not miserable.
Yeah.
40 hours a week anymore. You're not coming home stressed beyond all measure about bullshit. Like I'm still stressed about like technical challenges at my job because it is very technically challenging. That doesn't wear me down.
Yeah, well, it's a situation where you have challenges, but you have the tools to confront them. It's not a place where challenges are being presented to you and you have no means of overcoming them because it's a rigged system that's stacked against you.
Exactly. But she's made comments too. It's just like your mental state is noticeably better here in the situations we're in. Like it's so much better. So again, I think all of those changes, getting to go back on track, and then not having it just blow up in my face really helped. And I think the way I approached it too, this, being in a better place did help a lot as well. And then like today too, like one of the GLC competitors, Hans, like we've never really spoken, like a few messages here and there, and he saw the Instagram story and he was messaging me about it. And then he was like, so are you going to be at Midwest? And I was like, no, I don't think so. I'm not quite ready for that. I'm, just kind of slow rolling this at this point. And then he goes, well, why do you think that is? And like, it was a genuine, just like, so what's, what's legitimately holding you back? And we had a conversation of just like basically giving myself the yips and building that confidence back and feeling comfortable in a wheel to wheel situation again. And it was just like, well, when you do it, get a hold of me, and I can help you with like some mental stuff. And I was just like, I was blown away that he just like out of nowhere offered that to me. It was just like, so it was just really cool to just, I felt like I'd been whining, honestly. Like just, I felt like I was like on the podcast whining about being unhealthy. And now it's just like all coming together like, oh, everything's getting better. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm super pumped for you. Like like most of the weekends that you've gone out recently, like knowing that you were heading to the track this week, I was just like, please, please let this. And I guess I messaged you like Saturday afternoon. I was like, so do we love race cars again yet?
Yep. There was a genuinely surprising number of people that messaged me and just like, how's it going? Actually, pretty fucking good. Pretty good. So
you should have found, like, just to mess with all of us, you should have just found a picture of a salvage, like burned out 350Z sitting on the side of the road. Just reply back with that.
You could tell that I had been down that road so many times that never even crossed my mind because I refused to put that out there in the universe. Yeah. But yeah, all in all, I walked away with just like a list of little things that I wanted to change on the car, focus on setup, minor changes, and then just like, driver prep type stuff that I can work on. So yeah, I walked away with a list of like a to-do list that was like empowering and like exciting. Like, okay, this isn't a shitload of money that's going to bankrupt me. This is just actually a little bit of things. So yeah, we left Sunday. Jason took off ahead of us probably, I don't know, a couple minutes. And by Battle Creek, all of a sudden we see him on the side of the road. I was like, oh shit, we had such a good weekend. And so he had blown out a tire on his trailer. And so like we call him real quick. I was like, hey, are you good? Or like, are you stopping for whatever reason? Or like just to look? Or is like something wrong? He's like, no, we blew out a tire. I was like, so I stopped. And by the time I stopped, I'm like a quarter mile down the road on like an interchange of an interstate, right? So jog through the ditch all the way back to him, and yeah, it blew the fuck out of that tire. But luckily, it was only one. And so then, of course, got one jack, and we're trying to get, like, it's in the middle tire, so we're trying to get the stacker lifted just enough to get that tire, and it's enough to get it off, but not enough to get the new one on. So then I jog all the way back to my trailer to get my jack, and then drag it all the way back to his trailer along a super busy interstate. And between the two jacks, we were able to get it lifted just enough to get that wheel on. And what would have been a fucking nightmare of like unloading cars and whatever, we were able to get knocked out in like 10 minutes. So again, could have been a big deal, ended up not being. So it was a nice way to like end the weekend. Like, okay, could have been bad, but it wasn't.
Yeah, doing the middle one on a triple axle, that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it actually went fairly smooth, all things considered. And then yeah, like for how many cops drove by us and none of them stopped, it was really fucking annoying. Like super busy interstate, like maybe 50% of the cars are getting over to the right lane or the left lane, the proper lane to give us a little bit of space. And like multiple cops drove by. I was like, you could have just parked right here with your lights on. That would have helped like a lot. Yeah. Like a lot. Yeah. But whatever.
He would have gotten a bill afterwards.
Probably. but yeah, all in all, I don't have any tickets or events planned quite yet probably do Ozarks TT with Midiv. In July is kind of one that I have circled on the calendar. That sounds fun. Would be good. Another good test. Another track to go 6/10 on.
Yeah, you gotta do Mido.
Is that July?
No, I mean you just need to go to Mido.
Oh.
I don't know if you for grid life or just in general. You live too close to not.
Yeah, it's only like an
Mido
hour. I
this
think
year
it's an hour
in
and a
some
half from the
form.
house. Yeah. Clayton has reached out and he's supposed to let me know when he does testing, so I'll definitely take him up on that. And I know Scott Robertson's got a couple events that he's doing at Gingerman for testing. So yeah, I definitely want to take advantage of his knowledge of setup and driver's coaching. So I'll definitely lean heavily on him as I focus on getting the car right now that it's working. But yeah, other than that, that's probably the most. I can't remember the last time I felt this positive about the direction forward, I guess.
That's awesome. I'm relieved, excited, relieved.
That makes two of us, man. It was getting old, and I wanted, like, I knew I really enjoyed this at one point. It'd been a while since I'd seen that, so it was.
If I squint, I can look back and remember.
It was getting to the point where like I couldn't even look back and like I was looking at events and like I couldn't even do it with rose-colored glasses. It was like I think the last time I had looked back and I was like, yeah, that was fun. It was like Heartland Park Grid Life, and that was just an HPDE, and like we just hung out, and that was a fun weekend, but it wasn't really great from a driving standpoint. It was just again the car finally worked, and then the previous like high was probably High Plains when we finished that enduro for with WRL. Like legitimately, that was like almost 3 years ago at this point.
Yeah. Crazy how things like how I guess it feels like it's not going fast at the time whenever it's just beating you down. But yeah,
Yep.
where you look back at it like that, it's like, whoa, that doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
No, it really doesn't. Because like I think I don't know if it was this podcast or the one I did with Scott where I was doing the years, and I was like at least off by a full year on all of the things I was listing off. I was like, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
That was even longer ago. But yeah, so we'll see. Definitely feeling positive. I'm feeling good. Yeah, actually excited to get back out there. So it's a good place to be finally.
So I think your excitement is contagious because I was looking at our upcoming schedule and saw that there's like no autocrosses in June. So there is an Apex HPDE in June. So I have a piece of cardboard on the windshield of the Z right now with a list of to-dos to try to get to that.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Where's that at? Eagles Canyon?
It's going to be at Crescent.
Oh, nice.
I have an interesting relationship with Eagles Canyon since the redo. Like it's definitely the nicest track outside of Coda in Texas, but
so
I just haven't had.
So when you talk the redo, you're talking the track I would have driven on that added loop or whatever.
Yeah, the added like S's section in the back. It's not really. It's kind of an S.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't gotten to drive the full course on the new one that many times, and have never gotten comfortable with it. And then I've just had kind of just a weird rash of strange things happen. Like the last time I went there, the car fell off the trailer whenever I was trying to load it and like completely ganked the rear bumper. Like that's the kind of crap that I've run into whenever I've been there the last like 4 years.
What's that like?
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah, you get jaded, and then you're like, you know what? Let's just go over here for a while.
Yeah, or like the only time I've ever been black flagged that I remember was in a session there. It was like the first session out, and I thought I put 2 off on the outlap just because we were running it clockwise, so there was a corner that snuck up on me, and I was pretty sure I put 2 off. Apparently I put 4 off, and then where they had the black flag station, I wasn't seeing it. So I got a stern talking to for like, it was like the one and only time I've come off a track and had somebody come up to me like, what are you doing? I'm like, ugh. And I think that was the year that we'd wrecked the Camaro. So like that was just, it was one of those that was just like, okay, no, we're just not doing track things anymore for a while. That's that.
Like once you're not in like the proper mental state, it doesn't take much to keep knocking it further away from where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've basically got like a big long list of maintenance items to do on it to get ready, but
nice.
It's like I haven't checked the alignment in nearly a year, and it needs all of the fluids done.
Yeah.
It needs hubs. It needs, just standard 350Z things. So
yeah, it needed hubs like as soon as you put the new ones on, because that's just how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a fix for that. I know a guy.
Silly me. I'm going to put at least one more set of 350Z hubs on it before I go down that road.
I understand.
So yeah, I was out there last night and got new ARP studs, put in new hubs. So
nice.
Get going down that road and see if I can get it ready, and then decide what I want to do for tires, because my 2021 date code V730s I think are kind of done.
And even street driving the whole time, right?
No, not a whole lot, but they weren't. So I'm in this weird, I don't know what to do for tires for that car, because the V730s, I think obviously they have pace, like, because they've been competitive in GLTC.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, they're not shitty tires.
Yeah, they're not a bad tire. They're not the absolute end all be all.
No.
And they seem to last really well, which I like, because I'm a cheap bastard.
What's that like?
Yeah.
And they're cheap by comparison.
So yeah, that's the other thing. They're literally like, the last time I looked, anything else was going to be at least $1,400 for a set of 275s.
Yep.
And they were like $925.
Yeah, you can order 275 18s on Tire Rack, delivered to your door today, not heat cycled, for $900.
Yeah, under $1,000.
Yep. And if you order anything else, it's $1,400.
Because there's a big part of me that says like, well, if you want the car to feel good, I'm used to AO52s. Like, that's kind of my, like, I'm spoiled to that. So I should just go spend the $1,500 and get RE71s and be done with it.
That's where I was too. Cause it was, once you went to them, it's like, man, everything else is a downgrade.
Yeah. But also, like, I don't do that many like track day autocross things with the car. Like, they're gonna age out before I wear them out. Like, so I don't know. Yeah. We've also got another set of 295 AO52 sitting there that if I was a real man, I would just make those fit. But
how wide are your wheels?
Oh, we've got those mounted on 11s.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Oh, the biggest thing is they're tall. They're 295 35s.
Yeah, that is tall.
Like we were working on the Camaro this past weekend, and we've got those off of the truck right now. So I just grabbed one of those to do mock up with a fender hanging on it. And I did not appreciate how tall they are. With the car at ride height, it's tucking like 2/3 of the sidewall on the top of it.
Yeah, it is.
And which part of that's because it doesn't have the weight of the car on it to compress the inside, for the camber.
Right.
But yeah, also it's just a tall tire, because like on the Z, it fills the entire fender well and then some.
Yeah.
So as long as you don't need to turn, or like, as long as the suspension doesn't compress any, everything's fine. But,
yeah. Well, then just put it on washers. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm a much bigger fan of the 35s over the 30, because I changed my own tires. Because again, I'm a cheap bastard, and I hate changing 30s. It sucks so bad.
So we owned a tire machine for a little while. It was an older one that had come out of a discount tire whenever they'd upgraded. and we did some like just regular old truck tires and stuff. I was like, that wasn't that big a deal. We did a set of 315s once, and it was like, we're gonna break a wheel or we're gonna break a hand. One of like 315 30s on an 11 are not fun.
Yep. One of the wheels that I got from Josh when I bought the car originally had like decade-old Hoosiers on them, like 315 30s. They might have been a fucking 25. Like they were like these paper-thin sidewalls, and it was such a hard tire at this point because it was so old. I couldn't get it at all. I had to take a grinder to it and cut it.
So I've got a 7. I went off track at Crescent with the 730s, and I've got one that it hung a curb whenever I was coming back up, and it knocked a chunk out of the tire and out of the wheel. And I was trying to see if I could I was like, I don't want to go pay somebody to dismount this thing just to throw it away. Like it's all trash.
Yep.
And I just thought, well, I'll let the air out of it and see if I can even debeat it. No, not without a tire machine. That's not happening.
Yep. Yeah, you'd think it'd be easier if one of the lips is missing, but I remember when I tried to take the tire off of the broken wheel from Road America, the entire inside lip was already gone. I thought this was going to be cake. It took me forever.
Yeah. And so there's nothing to grab onto.
It took me so damn long to get that one tire off the wheel. Because Koenigs have that like inner lip. But when you don't have like not a lip, but it's like a ridge basically that kind of holds the bead in place.
Yeah, so it has to, whenever they mount it, it has to kind of pop up over that.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. So it wouldn't do it. Like I couldn't get it over that. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, there's a reason that I really love having the tire shop / oil change / barber shop right down the road from me. Yeah, all in the same building.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I have no intention of changing and replacing my own truck tires. I will pay to have those done. Also because my sensors are dead and I need to replace those too. Because I tried to do that one time and it didn't quite fit in the machine. Again, it took me like it's taken 20 minutes. It took me like forever.
Well, at least the sensors are cheap if you like break it in the process of doing that.
Yeah. Again, these are the tires that showed up on the truck when I bought it. So I mean, they're more than due for being replaced, and they put a shitload of miles on them. Same with the sensors. Who knows how old those are? So it's like it's time. I get it. I'll just pay someone to do it. I did the same thing with my trailer tires last time too. I was like, I could just for basically the same price of buying them, I could just drag this to Fleet Farm and they'll just do it.
Yeah.
And it'll be done in 15 minutes.
If you were Dalton, you would have just bought a tire factory.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I still want a tire machine for like hot swapping tires between events and stuff. And now that E-Man has a shop, I'll definitely be bothering him.
Oh yeah, do they have tire equipment there?
They do, and his personal shop has one. So
nice.
So
oh yeah, I think you have to have I think you have to have a tire machine if you're a drifter. I think that's part of the thing that for the licensing process.
Yeah. I think it's weird that his is stationary. Like normally they put them on like a trailer and take them with them.
Yeah.
So I'll scumbag him to let me use those when I need to get these 660s off, for example.
Yep, I would appreciate having that kind of a hookup, but I don't want to do it myself because you have race car PTSD. I have tire mounting PTSD. Like
Yeah, I try not to tell Jess how dangerous it is. I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go change some tires. Again, literally, I don't think it was last time, but one of the times before, I remember it was one of the tires I was fighting, and the spoon like kicked back and went like right across my chin and nose, and just grazed it, and it would have been bad.
That's why that's why those machines have so many giant, ugly warning labels on them.
Yep. Oh, it was one of the few times I took a step back and went, "We're going to count our blessings right now," because that would have sucked.
It's like you would have been doing the intro to the podcast. That, welcome to our podcast.
Yeah. But you've also been working on, speaking of that Camaro, getting that back together.
Yeah, we've picked up and started having small amounts of progress again. So about probably a month and a half ago, I went up to my parents, and we were just hanging out for a day on the weekend, and we went out, and the front suspension, like he's got, so we did custom designed cross members to go back into the stock subframe that he went through and ran all the geometry in a racing suspension program. And then I put all those points into Fusion and designed, 2 cross member sections that we got the main plates cut from Send Cut Send, and then, boxed in around all that and added these. So like the car originally has this giant, ugly, curved, heavy, funky main cross member in the front subframe that has the engine mounts on it, and is the lower control arm mount. It's heavy, it's awkward. The original control arm mounts are like very angled relative to the center line of the car. And like whenever we redid the suspension the first time in 2018, it ended up with just some weird compromises around all that, aside from it being heavy. So we cut all that out, made these 2 new pieces. So he's got those boxed and put together and then welded in final. And then, so the car's, on a frame table with a surface plate under the front section of it. And we've got, hub stands with the spindles where they need to be, and it's kind of a matter of like filling in all of the pieces around that. So
you're doing like using some like fancy hub spindle setup, like a Corvette, or are you using a Camaro still?
So they are a company called Speedtech that makes like full subframes and stuff for Camaros. They have a spindle called ATS that uses a Corvette hub. It's kind of their own geometry.
The Australian company?
No,
that's a different Speedtech.
Yeah, they're based in Salt Lake City.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So they make these specifically for their stuff. They kind of don't really sell them separately, but we got the suspension that we got for the truck had these in it, and I was like, they're really cool. They're not, they're kind of Corvette-ish, but they like the Corvettes, like the ball joints go in from the top and stick down. And like, there's some different things that it just like, it's a Corvette one is a long way removed from what we've had previously. This one's kind of a halfway in between, like what the Camaro one looked like versus what we have now. It's essentially so there's a lot of advantages to it. It acts like a drop spindle where the hub is moved further up in it. So, our previous setup, the way everything worked out, like the ball joints were way high, like our upper and lower ball joints were very high in the wheel itself. So then all of our arm mounting points also have to be very high on the chassis relative to like the center, like relative to the car. So it made a lot of things, like our upper arm mounts had to be really tall, and the lower arms are like, we had to clearance the chassis for lower arm clearance. So it was just a lot of like odd things related to the fact that this is a stock factory height spindle. So this one, we got these spindles, got all that plotted, and built everything around that and the steering rack. So we got like a full racing steering rack from Sweet Manufacturing that we're using. And then based everything off of that to get it to where we don't have bump steer. We don't have, we've got our roll center in the range that we want it. And then literally every mounting point on it we're using Joe's Racing, like circle track pieces. So we've got slugs for everything. So
that'll make it easy to, like, if you ever have to replace it or like.
Yeah. So, and then we've got adjustment in 1/8 inch increment or 16th inch increments everywhere. So like our lower arms, the inner mount can move up and down. Our upper arms, we've got full adjustment for, we'll use shims for camber because we're using the Joe's pre-made arms.
Yep.
We've got shims for camber, and then we've got adjustment with slugs to go up and down for changing roll center, changing camber curve. And then we can also adjust forward and back to change anti-squat and anti-dive, or anti-dive in the front. Tons of adjustability, but compared to what we had before, our upper arms previously, we were able to adjust. They were just sleeves with rod ends on them. And nearly every time we would check the alignment on the car, things had moved just because these arms are like 4 different pieces that are bolted together. And then again, we've got like fairly tall upper arm mounts and things like that. So like the car never stayed consistent from one thing to the next. It wouldn't move a ton, but it was just every time we would align it, you just got to make tweaks to it. So I'm hoping that this setup being circle track based, it'll be quicker to make adjustments like that, and it'll stay more consistent because the lower arm and the upper arm are solid welded pieces now.
Yep.
And then we fully, because of the shape and the length of things and everything else, we are fully fabricating our own lower arm. That's all. So we ended up going 1.25 inch diameter tube on it, and basically used the car set up on the frame table as a jig to build the lower arms for it. So
that's so freaking cool. I remember when you were showing me all like your spreadsheets and maths and all that stuff when you're doing your bump steer calculations, and I was just nerding out, and the engineer in me was just like, oh, I'm so jealous you're that far into the weeds. I love it. I fucking love it.
Yeah. So that, and it's like it's just a general like circle track geometry program that we've used. This is the 3rd time over that we're using it now. And every time we've learned a little bit, and this is the first time that we've just been like, okay, clean sheet. We're not like, basically no mounting, no geometry has carried over from what we had before, because we're different spindles. Like the steering arms are different. Like everything about this is going to be brand new from what it was. Hopefully the car is going to be a lot lighter also. Like everything about this, like, in the front suspension, every piece of it is lighter. The cross members are lighter. The lower arms we did before were way overbuilt. We used like 1 3/4 inch, like 250 wall tube for the main link on the lower, just because the entire weight of the car is going through it. Like we just weren't messing around with it. So yeah, everything. He got all of the upper and lower arms are all tacked in, and the steering rack's in place, and we got tie rods mocked up as well. Because of how everything works out, we're going to do, the tie rod's got like an adjuster sleeve on the inside section of it. And then the outer section is a 1 inch, fairly heavy wall piece that'll have a bend in it to get some more tire clearance at lock.
Oh, nice.
And everything's rod end, everything's solid. Like the lowers we did, he went through and machined all of our misalignment spacers because everything is specific widths. Yep. So it works out on the lower arms for us to be able to do reason just a single slug in the back of it for the adjustment, and then just using like a washer on the other side. So the side that's got the nut, you'll be able to back the nut off of it, pull the slug out, put a new slug in, and tighten the nut back up without having to undo the whole thing and get into the, the spacers that are inside the cross member or anything like that.
It's so slick.
And just trying to think of all of the, like anytime if we ever had to pull those lowers apart on our old one, you had to get in there and get all the spacers all lined up and everything. It was a massive time suck. Even if it's just a weekend where you don't have that much to do on the car, it's still something that bogs down quite a bit. So, just trying to look at every little thing on it with that kind of critical eye of, what we learned over the time that we were running it before. It's been a cool like engineering exercise, and then now it's cool to like get into it and start mocking it up and seeing it come together. And like we got just a really basic lower mount made, and then just hung a wheel up there and just cycled everything just to see like what does it do when we move it. Does anything bind? Is anything funky about it? And like that really got us motivated again. It's like, okay, like there's a very faint light somewhere way down that tunnel. But
yeah, I remember when you had it modeled and you were giving me updates, and actually might even been in the beginning, you might even been asking me a couple of questions about the modeling. But like, I remember you getting to the point where it was like completely modeled, and then you sent me like a completely assembled with the wheel, and then you had the video showing like the bumps here and all that, like, or lack thereof. And it was like you're showing it, and I was just like, genuinely appreciated the fact that I was along for that journey with you, because it was so cool that like watch you get like super excited about it, like, check this out.
Yeah, there was I got really excited about Fusion for about 6 months probably.
Yep.
And then now I've picked it up 2 or 3 times since then, and I had to get back in there, and I'm like, okay, I'm a baby deer just kind of stumbling around again. Like, I got to get back into that mindset. But
yep. Yeah, so once you get comfortable with like modeling software, you can do some pretty intricate stuff. But like, I remember like the first time I ever started using like SolidWorks or whatever, and it was intimidating and daunting, and like it made no sense. And then like once you kind of understand like how to build with it, and just like you just like an exponential curve of understanding and what you're capable of doing. It was just like, that was such an exciting thing for me to learn, and now being proficient with it is like one of the, like I went to EWI, and they're like, and I said I can use, I'm good with SolidWorks, and like we don't have a design team, so like if you are good with SolidWorks, it's like a super valuable asset. So yeah. Like when I said like, yeah, I can do that, and then somebody from a different group was asking me about it, and like, explain to me what what you can do with it. And I just showed a couple of models of things I had done at EWI in the short time that I've been there. And now it's like anytime she has any sort of design work for a project, she's like, I'm going to just have you do it. It's like, that's fine. It's like, so it's such a fun thing to do.
You're like the guy. So I was a marketing major in college.
Yep.
And everyone that's a marketing major is generally just like people that they're just business people. And I was like, I'm a marketing major because I'm a graphic designer, but a graphic design degree doesn't get you as much as like knowing how to do graphic design, but also knowing marketing. And so every project I would be like, oh yeah, I'll handle all the design work. And it was the easier part, but I wasn't going to tell them that.
Yep. I wish that was true about the design work of these projects was the easy part. It's not, but it's it's just one of the things I'm actually really good at.
Yeah. So yeah, we've all the outer part of the front is like mocked up and tacked in place, and we're like Sunday we were looking at where the sway bar is going to go. So it's going to have a spline sway bar. One of the things that we had done on it previously was that sway bar was mounted like way far in, so it didn't interfere with tire clearance. But we had to put it way far forward because of all of the stock steering stuff. So we ended up with like a 12 and a half inch long arm on the sway bar. So
oh, man.
An 1.25 inch solid bar is the biggest thing that Speedway Engineering makes, and we couldn't make it have more than like a 600-pound rate. So now we're doing a laydown radiator. We're doing like tube front structure. So like I'm like I'm totally open. We've got a steering rack that sits way further back than what all of the stock steering stuff did. So like we can put this sway bar literally anywhere. So we were running the math on it to see like, okay, so if we go from a 12.5-inch arm to a 7-inch arm, okay, well now we've got 2,200 pounds with this 1.25-inch solid bar. So now we can shorten the arms so the arms themselves are lighter, and we can go to a hollow bar and get back to that like 700 or 800 pounds that we probably really wanted originally. So again, there's another 12, 14, 16 pounds, something like that, just out of that setup.
Yeah.
Just all kind, like whenever you build a car from 2005 to 2009 and then you revisit it 15 years later, you're like, oh yeah, there's tons of opportunities here to improve what we did before. So
yeah, especially when you're getting this far into like basically starting with a clean slate.
Yeah,
just completely gutted. Get to design it yourself. Start from scratch. That's such a cool build.
Yeah. Yep. It's incredible. It's incredibly mentally overwhelming to look at how much crap there is to build on it, but we've past the kind of pessimistic view of looking at it, and it's back to like, all right, let's break it down. Let's make a priority list, and think through what order things need to be done. And there's an order of operations of this depends on this, and
nope.
It was like we were close to just starting on building headers. Well, let's not build the head. Let's finish the suspension. Let's get the suspension all the way it needs to be, and then it's kind of deciding like what be in certain places, and then building the things that can go into different places around that. So it's yeah.
So you got your spindles and all their geometry in your Fusion already. So now you're gonna have to finish the front end and do your tube front end. All that needs to be modeled. Then you can kind of work your way back, and then you can model your cage and get all the dimensions for that. It's gonna be exciting stuff. You're gonna have a digital twin of this when you're done.
So I've scanned the inside of the car.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got the scanner. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. Speaking of things that I was like really into for a little bit and kind of fallen off of. So I scanned the interior, and it worked out really well. And I was working on, because we're gonna redo at least part of the floor, because the floor in a second gen Camaro is an unholy mess. But doing the whole, Mike Burrows, Stanceworks, is working on a Ferrari F40.
Ooh.
That he's like building an entire he basically got the body. He's got Ferrari like new old stock body panels, and he's building a car underneath it. And I was watching his videos because he's doing a lot of the same stuff that we are. This car's welded to a frame table. He's building everything from scratch underneath it. We're not going that far because we're keeping the shell there. But and he was talking about the design philosophy of it, of like building out everything in the digital space and then just recreating that in real life versus fabricating a race car like as you go along. And there was a part of me that wanted to build the whole thing digitally first, and then I'm getting a realistic picture of what my skills and time
it would take
that I can allot to it are. Yeah. And then too, I like that hand, like the thing that I find the coolest about Fusion is being able to iterate things without having to build them and throw them away. So I did like 5 different versions of our motor mounts in there before I finally settled on like, okay, let's use the Corvette engine mount side and then build a piece that goes to our cross member that kind of works like that Corvette piece does. But it took, I made a tubular one. I made some plate ones. I did a couple different things, and it was things that it would have been hours and hours in the shop versus, an hour here and there to work it out digitally first. So,
yeah, I mean, I was going to say that digital twin thing is like a huge part of some of the projects that we have at eDo. Like our automation team, that's like a genuinely huge part of what they do is having a digital twin for stuff like, you know, a robot cell or a welding cell, for example. So like there's a lot of value in that, and I think a lot of companies are seeing that. So it's I mean, yeah, even down to this level of, you know, like doing your own project. Like if you can build it and the only thing you're using is your time, and you can see whether or not the design works or not, you know, you can get it right eventually, and then not have to spend hours and hours, you know, fabbing something up just to throw it in the bin.
Just to say, that doesn't work.
Yep. No. I mean, I'll say there's a lot of design time. Like, again, I'm going to keep focusing on work, but like, you know, you set aside 100 hours of design time for a project. I mean, that's super common, because you do a design, you take a look at it, like, this is perfect, and then you and like 3 people look at it and go, poke holes in it. This sucks. And then you start over.
Yeah, so like the cross members, like I knew where our suspension pickup points needed to be. And then I knew, okay, we're going to set the engine here, and then we've got a dry sump pump that hangs off of it that's got this giant -1690 that's got to come into it for the feed line. So the crossmember is built to where that pump sits in there, and that 90 comes out, and it has like a ½ inch of space around it. And that's something that we couldn't have done previously in the form that it ended up in here. So that's one of the things that I look at and go like, yeah, that was something that we couldn't have done before. We wouldn't have been able to do it as cleanly as what we did now. Or it looks clean to me. It probably looks like dog crap to anybody that has any engineering experience. But
no, that's exactly it. Like your accuracy and your gaps and your consistency on things is going to be improved by using it. I mean, we had the entire shop modeled at Collins. Like, so if someone's like, we need to change this layout, we would do it in the solid model before we had maintenance change a bunch of stuff. And like I want to move hits here and there, and it's like, that's not gonna work. See, watch.
Like, oh, we spent $24,000 moving all of this stuff, and now we have to do it again.
Yes.
or $240,000.
Yeah. It's not cheap to move equipment. So make sure you do it once.
But yeah, that's kind of the latest on it. The front end's starting to look like something, and then we'll I don't know if he's wanting to move to the rear. We're going to do a 3-link suspension in the rear, so we're going to have to figure out how the upper link on the 3-link ties into the cage, which we're also building all new, along with the floor and the firewall and everything else. So you're looking at like an August time frame for this to be done, is what you're saying? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's exciting stuff, though. That's a huge project, and it's going to look so cool when it's done.
Yep. It's a cool chance to go back and do all of the things. Like, you have a vehicle and you go and use it as a tool on a racetrack, and then you see all the warts that it has over time, and you just keep a Rolodex, and then you can get into a minor incident, you blow it all apart, and you start going through that Rolodex and saying, all right, what did we dislike about this? What did we dislike about this? And most of what we disliked about this is that it was just freaking heavy. So
yeah. Do you have a weight in mind for where you want to end up with that?
I'm hoping it can be under 3 without me. That's because I don't, the car's still going to be steel. It's not going to be a ton of, like, to get really light with one of these cars, you need a lot of composites on it. And I don't.
That's a level that you're probably not aiming for.
Yeah. And I don't honest. I don't know. There's something cool to me for it to still be Camaro.
Yes.
Like, I still want to go up to it on any corner of it and just go tink, 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 and just be, that thick old metal. Yep. So.
Oh, I get it.
I don't know.
And yeah, and if you're not building it for a very specific, like, I don't know, rule set or whatever, and having it be the Camaro still is probably like that's what I would want to see.
Yeah, I'm I'm more concerned about it having, very identifiable Camaro DNA than I am like outright, I'm not, it's not going to be 1,500 horsepower. It's not going to have giant crazy aero. Like it's not going to be an unlimited car. Like we could take it to. There's, the track mod kind of rule set seems like it feels like a good spot to kind of aim for. And it, as the grid life rules are now currently, we could, do the aero the way track mod goes and it could fit there because of the exemption for pro touring cars. And I'm assuming that's still there, but
yeah, I haven't looked, but let's assume it still is for the sake of conversation.
Yeah. But it's an engineering exercise and it'll be fun to go. My only goal for it is for it to be quick enough to just kind of make people kind of look at it and go like, wow, really? Oh, okay.
Exactly. Like have it not be so like, again, I don't know why, but like when I see this, I kind of immediately compare it to like the Dassault car because it's an old car like that. Yeah. So it's like, the Dassault car rolls off the trailer. You're like, that's supposed to be a fast unlimited car. Like this one, I see it and I'm like, I see that being a little bit more unassuming where it's like, yeah, that's a badass Camaro. And then come to find out it's actually pretty fucking fast on track.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the goofy, short-sighted, weird goal I have for it.
I like it.
And the reasoning behind like keeping the stock, subframe in the front and stuff like that. And just kind of, the same reason why we boxed the stock chassis on the truck instead of just going and buying a new one. Like there's something cool to me about taking the flawed, awful stuff that was there and incrementing it forward versus just, putting something all new together under it. So
yeah, keep that character there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you still plan on this being like a street car too, right?
Yeah. It has to be dual. Okay. It has to be dual purpose. There's not, it'll be full cage and I'm probably going to do, I'm thinking that it'll probably get, like wheel to wheel style X door bars and it just purely for safety because like it's going to be more power than it was and it's going to be lighter than it was. So it was already quick enough before that it was like, this cage is not my favorite thing to be riding in at 150 plus miles per hour. So,
you'll never regret having more safety equipment than you need.
Yeah. Yeah. And then trying to do it where it's caged, but it's still it's not stupid to drive it on the street style cage. So yeah, keep everything, tucked really close and stuff like that. So, but
love it. I'm excited to see what
there's a lot of people out there calling me an idiot for talking about driving a full cage car on the street, but here we are.
I don't think our audience is that audience.
Yeah, that's true. So.
I think the majority of the people listening probably have or do drive their cage race cars, not just race cars on the street. So I think that we did a full show, or a couple of other podcast shows. So
we won't name names this time.
No, well, no throwing strays today.
Yeah, they're back to publishing fairly regularly.
I know. So. If you scumbag them enough, they'll do it. But yeah, that was a nice recap of what we've been up to, and we'll catch everybody next week.